All right, what's trending now? I tell you what, the Super Bowl, we're just 100 days away from Super Bowl 58. 4 teams who think they have a great shot at a trip to the desert have marquee matchups. The Eagles, the lone remaining one-loss team, host their NFC East rival, the Dallas Cowboys. And in Germany, Frankfurt is going to be the home of the Chiefs and Dolphins AFC showdown. Tyreek Hill says hello to his former squad at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And some notes. Reminder, CBS is absolutely your home for Super Bowl 58. Circle February 11th on the calendars. This will be the first Super Bowl ever held in the state of Nevada. Super Bowl 58 will air on CBS, Nickelodeon, and Paramount Plus. And with that, we say hello to our experts, Jonathan Jones and Charles Davis. Charles, I want to start with you here. The Eagles already with an impressive win over the Miami Dolphins. Can they add another with the Cowboys in town? And are they the team to beat right now in the NFL?
Well, Mike, before I begin, just want everybody to know there is a calendar here and there's a date. So what you're seeing, I'm okay. All right. Because I know this background looks like maybe I've been taken and, I should blink twice if I'm okay. But all that being said, this Eagles team obviously is formidable. We're talking about 2 straight years, Jonathan, right, of this Eagles team being at the top of the food chain in the NFC, the team to beat, and got better and better as the season went on last year. They got so good that when they were winning games earlier this year, it wasn't good enough. Right? Oh, well, I see cracks in the Eagles and, they're not winning impressively enough. And, the offense is okay. And we're spending more time on brotherly shove and tush push, which I still want outlawed and banned, but that's just me. Then we are, hey, the Eagles are still winning games. The Jets game gave us even more fodder. Bottom line is, with San Francisco falling off and the Eagles, I think, starting to ascend a little bit even more on offense with A.J. Brown, I think they're the team to beat in the NFC. But, Jonathan, we know how things change in this league quickly.
We do know how things change, CD, and that's sort of the thing with the Eagles. Look, you can talk about injuries with any team, but especially with the Eagles is where I worry because of their age, right? Jason Kelce, when you talk about the tush push or brotherly shove, he's the guy that really kind of makes that go. He's up there, right? You have Lane Johnson, who has dealt with any number of injuries, but that man is the Terminator, and he comes back 5 days later seemingly every single time. You look in the defensive backfield for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they really wanted to trade for another corner before the trade deadline because of the age that they have back there. James Bradbury, they have Darius Slay, they have Bradley Roby, who's been dealing with injury. And so I like this team at full health, but unfortunately they have not been able to be healthy, and the injury bug hasn't bitten them too hard or deeply yet. But it's just something that I unfortunately have to keep an eye on when we're projecting the Philadelphia Eagles playing deep into January and then into February.
All right, JJ, so let's move over to the AFC now. The Chiefs 6-2, but is this the same Chiefs team of old that we've been seeing with the explosive offense, or has things changed over there in Kansas City?
Yeah, obviously things have changed, right? They had never really had a top 10 defense, really anything close to it. And I think by a number of metrics, this is a top 3, top 5 defense. And of course, they're missing Nick Bolton, and will be missing him for another month or so with that injury. No. And so when I look at this Chiefs team, I see a team that is figuring out ways to win with Andy Reid and with Patrick Mahomes like they always do. And so while it looks different, you know what? Last year it looked different without Tyreek Hill, and they figured it out. And so whatever iteration, whatever sort of version of this Chiefs team it needs to be, as long as they have those 2 dudes at the top, they're going to be able to win, even if they had a hiccup this past week.
And Jonathan, I agree totally with the idea of them being able to figure it out. Andy Reid in coordination with Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Matt Nagy there is the offensive coordinator. But they've put a lot on Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of seasons, and the payoff last year was the Super Bowl. And what I mean by a lot is they didn't super invest in receivers. All right, go get this experienced guy. Go get that guy who can make plays. They counted on Patrick Mahomes making it all work and bringing them together, and he did last season. Remember, they canceled OTAs and minicamp to let Patrick work with the receivers. They did it again this year. And last year, guys made some plays for them down the stretch. Marquez Valdez-Scantling got better in the playoffs. You saw Juju Smith-Schuster make a few plays in the Super Bowl. I'm a little worried about the receiving core outside of Travis Kelce this year because I don't see the development, I don't see the growth other than Rashee Rice, who I think is going to be a star in this league at some point. But Sky Moore's got to make more plays for them. What's fun to watch is Steve Spagnuolo getting his due again as a coordinator, as a defensive coordinator, not because he's playing with a 14-0 lead, but because that defense is playing well from snap one. And that's helping keep this Kansas City team afloat. And boy, does he have a test this Sunday in Germany, obviously, against the Miami Dolphins. So I can't wait to watch how that develops.
I want to ask you guys about another team in the AFC that has certainly made deep runs these last few years, and that's the Bengals. They've now won 3 in a row. Joe Burrow getting healthy. Charles, are they back?
They're back, baby. They are back, Mike, and they're back because the Cincinnati kid is healthy. They're back because Joey B can move around in the pocket. We saw a few different things, right? You're always looking for a sign. Is the calf getting healthier? You remember the game they played against Arizona? Brian Callahan, offense coordinator, told me he felt good early in the game on a sack. When he saw Joe Burrow jump over someone to try to elude it, he said, oh, he looks pretty good today. Later in that game, he ran 10 yards for a first down. And you remember, he did a little ball flip and kind of dropped the mic. His big move for first downs. How about last week's ball game when you saw Joe just take off a whoosh? Yeah, Joey B's back. And when he's back and able to move, the offense can move because he's not a sitting duck. They're not just playing everything out of gun and everything static. Now he can make those types of plays, and it brings Joe Mixon back into the game, Jonathan, because he can get back under center and they can run the football with more authority. Now he can throw off a play action boot, the whole thing. Oh, yeah, Cincinnati's back. And lest we forget, Lou Anarumo's still coordinating that defense. And last I saw, Trey Hendrickson finished off last week's ball game, putting quarterbacks on the deck. Cincinnati's back and ascending.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, when you talk about what was one of the more impressive wins of the NFL season, I know a lot of people are going to look at that Miami Dolphins 70-point performance and say, look at that beatdown, especially as we've seen the Denver Broncos and what that defense has been able to do in the past couple of weeks. I'll put last week's Bengals game up against the San Francisco 49ers, a defense coordinated by Steve Wilks, who very well should be a top head coaching candidate this upcoming cycle. And what they were able to do, what Joe Burrow was able to do, 85% completion percentage, all the advanced statistics. But then you look at his GPS data, Charles, and you talk about how he was moving. He covered 502 yards throughout the game. That's the most that he has all season long. The calf has gotten healthier and healthier ever since we saw him limp to that astounding victory on Monday Night Football against the LA Rams. And then when you consider that he scrambled 6 times against the 49ers defense and picked up 4 first downs. He scrambled more in that game than really he has all season, all games combined. He is absolutely back. The calf is back. And for everything that you mentioned, Charles, getting under center, getting that ground game established, opening things up on the outside for this team. And yeah, a lot of folks aren't talking about that defense because I guess Trey Hendrickson doesn't put a lot of butts in seats and sell tickets. He should. If he were in a bigger market, people would talk a whole lot more about Trey Hendrickson. And yeah, Lou Anarumo, the gentleman who's coordinating that defense, I mentioned head coaching cycle. That's the man who's going to be competing for a head coaching job in just a couple of months.
All right, JJ, those two guys may be MVPs on the Bengals defense, but as we move through the halfway point of the season, to me, the MVP race feels like it's a bit of a crowded field. Charles, from the bunker, I'm going to hold you to this one. Who is your MVP right now as we're at the halfway point of the year?
It is November 3rd, 2023, Mike. All right, I just everybody knows that. Listen, you got these names, these faces flashed up there, and all of them should be. Where's A.J. Brown and what he's doing outside with Philadelphia right now out on the perimeter? Obviously, where is Tyreek Hill, who might go for 2,000 yards this year? But there's one face that's not up there that will be as time goes on, and we just talked about it. If Joe Burrow hasn't established that him healthy changes everything Cincinnati does, I don't know what these last 3 games have told us. They've told us exactly that. He is an absolute difference maker, one of the top players in the game. And when he's on the field, Cincinnati can play with and beat anyone. And these last 3 games, to me, have conclusively proven it.
Charles, I wish that we would change the name of the MVP award to the most outstanding player, because value is so subjective, right? But it is objective that value in turn to a football team comes at the quarterback position. So you raise amazing points of, if Tyreek Hill does this and sets records, why shouldn't he be considered? Because he'll never, of course, be as valuable to his team as a very good to great quarterback is to his team. So that's my soapbox. We need to just change the name of the award to the most outstanding player, and then we can introduce some of those well-deserving candidates into the legitimate conversation. But since we are not changing that name, the Associated Press did not get my
they didn't get your memo?
my petition
They
for
didn't
that.
get it?
No, sadly they did not. Look, I think it's Patrick Mahomes right now, and it's difficult to say that it's Mahomes right now coming off the game that he just did against the Denver Broncos, but every MVP candidate every single year is entitled to one bad game, and that was really his bad game. That's okay. He also played a Broncos team twice in 3 weeks, and it's always difficult to perform well in both of those contests on such a short time frame. And so right now, it's Mahomes because of what he does, how different he is than everyone else. But CD, to your point, brother, any of these guys in the second half of the season can absolutely step up and take the crown away from Patrick Mahomes.
And please let a defensive guy get introduced at some point, Mike. Please, 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 can we start, talk about defensive guys and their value? It's hard to do. We know that. But but in the name of Lawrence Taylor, can we bring someone back? In the name of J.J. Watt, who won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards and didn't get a sniff at this award. These guys make a huge difference, especially as high-tuned and high-powered as offenses are nowadays. It's tough to slow them down.
How about T.J. Watt? I mean, how about throw that out there? I mean, we see him make plays.
I like where your head is, Mike. I like the way you're thinking. I like the way you came along with it so quickly and immediately introduced someone who should be in that conversation, because T.J. Watt may very well break his own tied record for most sacks in a year with Michael Strahan.
I tell you what, if I had to vote, I'd say both of you were our MVPs in this segment, so we'll take that, for what it's worth. And Charles, find safety, please. We're worried about you. JJ, you're okay, clearly above ground somewhere.
I'm all right. I got the calendar.
I see that. I see that.
Send help.
Send help. All right, as you see over JJ's left shoulder, it is 100 days until the Super Bowl, so start the clocks now. Super Bowl 58, the first ever in Vegas. The big game can be seen on CBS, Nickelodeon, or streaming on Paramount+. And don't forget, CBS Sports HQ will keep you up to date on all the latest in the NFL leading up to kickoff.